So this is rough bark Chinese elm, and I want to get this out too. It's just a volunteer also that came from the remaining root after I took out a bunch a couple years ago, and I think you saw me work on those. But anyway, it came back again, but this one will entail my tractor. So I have to go get the tractor and get this out. Well, even my tractor had a little bit of difficulty dealing with this one here. This is our rough bark Chinese elm. I went to watch this clump, and you know what I noticed here is there's a lot of roots, big roots. I was wondering why I had a very difficult time digging this out on one side, and that's because all those big roots. But those of you that have been following me, you know this is easy to grow root cuttings. Well, this is Hero coming back to the second part of what we started. This is the Chinese elm that came out of the ground, and there is a lot of pieces here. That's why I had to break it up into a new chapter. Anyway, I took the big clump and cut it up, and I'm going to show you individual pieces and how we're going to handle each one. And okay, this is one of the pieces that came off. And the trick is to go with the amount of root. Okay, so there's not much root to this guy here. So I'm going to cut this into shorter, and I'll show you how that is. So I thinned it out, and then so this small root system will not have to try to keep a large head alive. So that'll help. And then the other thing I'm going to do is to bury it deep, because there's no way that this could stand without all these roots yet. Probably we'll know this year whether it's going to make it. But usually for Chinese elm, I would give this about a 70% success rate. If it had a little more root, then I would say 95%. But there's just enough root down there to say, okay, this should have a pretty good chance. And I think I'm going to plant it somewhat like that. Look like much now, but I think this is going to be one of the better ones. Chance of success, maybe 50-50. But okay, to get this to work, I think what I'm going to have to do, because very little root, cut it severely. When I say severely, I mean severely. Now, a little better, it has more roots, but I think that it should still be severely cut. So let's cut it. Severely cut, plant it deep, put it in a spot where it will not be disturbed for a while, and this one should have 80 or 90% success rate. Okay, I have these pieces, and I'll do the same thing. They were much longer, cut them short. I'm going to plant it deep. Looks like it's going to be real easy. So, but I also see two trees. Right here, where it forks, I'm going to cut it off here, but there's enough root, so I'm going to plant that and then plant that separately. Okay, so I took the single one and made two out of this. And let's go with a slightly different than upright. One is extremely slanted. It might even become a cascade in the future. Here's a good lesson. Now, what would you do with this one? I bet most of you are going with the bigger branch on the right, but I'm going to go with the small one on the left. Look at the amount of roots. It's got a better chance of success if we had a smaller top. By the time this is ready, we'll have forgotten what we're doing. And when you take that out and it has a big fat trunk, you'll be like, wow, what a surprise. On here, I could make it into a number of different things. What we've been doing is been cutting off like here. That's how I ended up with so many. But maybe I'll try to make this into more of a clump style, just because we don't have one on this batch. So let me go ahead and try that. Like much now, but I think it has a start. And then, well, a lot of the cuts are rough, but it was intentional because if you cut it too tight, sometimes that part will dry out and it might kill it. So at this stage, just cut it rough and then leave enough options for interesting project. Okay, there's 3 of them in there, kind of jumbled together, and I'll go ahead and pre-style and get them in containers. Are in these containers. Once again, it doesn't look like anything, but you know that it has a very interesting base. So somewhere down the line, maybe 2 years or 3 years, it's going to be great or dead. One or the other. This was more or less the center of everything. And I'll get this shaped up. I'm going to have to trim the roots and get it into a container. And I think there's a few more. But I bet you're getting tired of watching the same thing over and over. So I'm just going to show you the ending. Boy, am I tired now. Look how many I did. This is just from that one bunch. So this is Hero saying goodbye again. We'll see you again in another chapter. Hope you enjoyed this tedious process of styling or pre-styling material for the future. So I would think that about 2/3 or more of this should make it. But considering how harsh these were put through, it would be sort of a miracle that it'll come by. Now I could have done multiple trunks in a big box, but most people do not like multiple trunks. And I don't want anything big because it's heavy. Anyway, so this wraps up our Chinese elm chapter. This is the rough bark Chinese elm that came up on its own. That's why I'm calling this chapter Free Bonsai. So anyway, if you enjoyed it, please tell your friends and please subscribe. See you again real soon. In fact, you know what? You'll see me really soon in the next chapter because, you know, from all this pruning, I still have the root. So we're going to be working on root cutting from a Chinese elm. So that will be the next chapter. So I'll see you again real soon.